Now, they say that baseball is America's pastime. Now, regardless of what your favorite sport is, you can agree on one thing, that baseball brings money. And that's probably one thing that's very synonymous with baseball. We talk about big contracts. Now, regardless if you're a baseball fan or not, you probably heard the news of Ohtani signing a $700 million contract. Now, this is the biggest in baseball history. Now, when we think about why he gets that money, you might think he can pitch, he can hit, he's a standout player, people love him. But it comes down to his skill set. Without that, no one knows who he is. Now, Ohtani can do something, along with many other major league players, that most humans on Earth can't do, which is track down a 9-inch circumference white ball that comes across at about 95 plus miles per hour and be able to hit it over 400 feet. Now, if you're able to do this, you're an elite class in and of itself. But why is this in the first place that is so hard to do? Now, they say that hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things to do in sport. Now, let's break down the actual mechanism of why that is. So they say about 0.4 of a second is the time between the pitch being released to getting to the plate. So that's not a lot of time for you to actually, one, recognize what's coming at you, making the decision to swing, and then actually hitting the ball. So let's say that we break it down into 3 different tiers. The first tier is the actual release of the pitch. You recognize that the pitcher has now released it and is coming towards you. Let's put that at about 1/10 of a second. Now, the next part we'll say is the longest part. It's about 1/4 of a second. And this is the actual travel of the ball from the mound to the plate. And the last part is 1/15 of a second. This is you actually making the motor function to swing the bat. Now, essentially, the first part is pretty straightforward. The ball has been released. So you have to make a decision of what trajectory, what angle the arm release of the pitcher is, so you can even make sense of the travel path of the ball. But in that 1/4 of a second, this is really where you're deciding to swing or not swing. So let's take that back a little bit, because a lot of emphasis is put on the visual aspect, but it's really a brain function. Now, I'm a little biased because in my business, we emphasize all parts of mental performance. But a lot of times we put so much on the eyes, we forget that the eyes are just a window to the brain. Because there's a region of the brain called the occipital lobe, and that's where the visual cortex, the information is taken, and then it's processed, so you then can see what you're doing and make sense of it. Now, we're really choosing do swing or don't swing. This is really what a hit is. Because at the point of time where you're recognizing what you're going to do, if you haven't made that decision by this 1/4 of a second point, you already have missed the pitch. That's usually when you get caught looking. Now, what we want to do is to be able to make that decision at this point of trajectory. So you need to recognize quickly, quick images and making sense of it and making that action. And that's exactly what we're doing in these drills. Now, the last part, the 1/15 of a second to actually do the motor function of swing, this is where we tie in the physical cue to go with it. Because once you see it, recognize it, and know what to do, you need to do something physical so you can connect that motor function to the actual visual processing. Now, when it comes back to swing or don't swing, this is where impulse control comes in too. Because a lot of times when people swing and miss, it's because they shouldn't have swung in the first place. Now, the more we can add load to your thinking, and once you take it off in a regular scenario, that is the premise of all these training and drills. Because if you can make sense of things and process so much more going on, once you take it off, it's not as hard as it was when it was on. Think of it like when you're warming up in the batter's box, you have the donut on the bat. It's a little bit heavier on the top of the barrel. And when you release it, take it off, you can swing much faster. It's the same premise here. And that's essentially what we're doing to make you have to think more to get your mind right. So let's get back to the drills. So now that we've seen some of the science of why hitting a baseball isn't that easy, we can look at how the industry itself of mental performance has paralleled baseball. Now with Mind Body One, we approach our mental performance training in a very unique way that we combine all different components. Now I was able to bring in Kyle Parks, the owner of Elevate, Maintain, and Evolve, which is a cognitive training and sports psychology business. He came by the Mind Body One lab and he showed us some different drills that we could do using our new Think Fast app. Now, Kyle has worked with numerous major league players, so he definitely understands as a former baseball player himself, as well as someone who excels in sport and cognitive sciences to get the hitter better at doing what they do. So let's look at what he has for us for the drills.
Okay, so whenever this color flashes on the screen, I'm gonna catch whatever color flashes with my left hand. So we're tossing with right, catching with our left. So flashes red, I catch red, but I also need to catch the other ball. So we got 2 balls that I'm trying to catch simultaneously, just working on reaction. Yep. Got that one. Sorry. Nope. So pretty much I have these two items on the floor here. My goal is to react at a 45-degree angle as quick as I can. I'm tossing the ball simultaneously. So with my right hand now, if I got red that flashes on the screen, I'm gonna boom, quick step, toss ball, catch red. Well, I messed up that one, but catch red. So it doesn't matter if you miss the second ball, but you're gonna work on catching the red with your right hand. Yep. 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 Yep, I got that one. Yep.
Now, as you see, Kyle gave us two different drills that intertwine different components of mental processing as well as a motor function, meaning moving and thinking. So they involve things such as reaction. So when a colored flash, you have to make a decision, then you have to throw and step to an appropriate side of the color box. Now, this also works on something we call spatial awareness, because when you throw two balls, you're tracking more than one. So you have to make sure you have a visual picture of what you're doing. So we do this, like I mentioned before, because it adds more cognitive load. The premise is, once again, if you're able to track these things down, make sense of it with more going on, when there's less to attend to, you'll be even more primed and prepped to do so. Now, the next drill is something I came up with using our fast count task. Now, fast count also used spatial awareness because you're seeing a multiple amount of circles of two different colors. Now, the goal of this was, if there's a red and blue circle, whichever color had the most circle is what he's gonna react to. And I'm gonna throw a ball that's also red or blue at him, and he's either gonna catch it if it matches the color circles with the most, or if it doesn't match, he's gonna let it go. So we're simulating that take the pitch or swing. Remember, go, no go, swing, don't swing is what we're training here, by adding the extra stimuli, by having multiple things to attend to. They're flashing very quickly, and then quickly have an actual physical component to catch or not catch the ball. We're putting it all together. So this is just some of the aspects you can do to practice on your visual and mental acuity when trying to perceive on how to take a pitch.
Blue. Blue. That was red. Red. Blue.
That's on me.
Red. Red. Blue.
Now, granted, people always want to ask, how does this carry over? The first and foremost thing is, what are you thinking while you're doing it? Are you managing your stress? Are you overreacting? Are you self-talking? Things that aren't productive? These are things to look at too, outside the actual cognitive or reactive component, because we have numerous drills that we utilize for baseball and specifically hitting. This is just one of many. So take that in consideration when you think about how you go about your next at bat, and see if you can track that to get your mind right.